Hey, what's up? So we seem to be live. Let me know you can hear me well. Hey Radha, how are you doing? Hope everything is super well. I'm gonna open up a video on my phone so I can see some of your comments. And I think today is gonna be mostly about painting. It's been a while since I just painted in a live stream. It feels like. Good. So thank you so much for being here, everyone. Today we'll paint water. It's gonna be a fun one. I don't know why I updated my Mac, my iOS yesterday, like everything, and it was a long update. It messed up a few things, so I'm not sure why I can't play around with the advanced settings of my camera. So luckily it's all on auto, so auto zoom, auto focus, auto everything. So the white balance may be off, things may be off, and I can't control them manually. I don't know why the menu shows nothing there. So that's what happens when you update stuff. So you'll forgive me if it goes out of focus when I do this kind of a thing and so on. Okay. But in any case, thank you so much once again for being here. It's gonna be fun. I'm gonna paint water, challenging subject. I want us to work a little slower on this one. Start really slow, initial wash, blah blah blah. Go a little slower here. Okay. We're gonna set the tone with some nice colors. Maybe we'll do a bit of a, I don't even know if warm and cool. Maybe we'll do more focused on secondary colors, because I do see quite a lot of greens here. But of course the part I like the most is that bottom section with all those beautiful ripples. So let's see who's here. Hey, Harinandan, how are you doing? Radha again. Hey Debbie. Hey John, how are you? Hey Paula. Hey Tattoo Tank. So thank you so much. I think I'll get started. We have 42 people here. That's nothing to be shy at. So I think we'll begin. Now I want to show you, I'm actually using hot press paper, the notorious Ferrano Artistico paper, which means no texture. It's a bit of a challenge to get an even wash. And what I find is that you just have to rely more on wet and wet, which is what I'm going to show you now. I'm drinking bubble tea, by the way. So we're going to rely on pre-wetting the paper here. So what I'm going to do is just start mixing. Don't even know exactly what, but I'm just going to mix. I'm going to stay this zoomed in. Let's see if I can maybe move myself a bit so you see a little more. Let's make it smaller. Good. You don't need to see that much of my face. And I'm just going to pre-wet. Now, the water I'm going to use to pre-wet isn't going to be perfectly clear. And that's okay, because I'm going to go over it with paint anyway. So, there we go. And I find the 2 passes are necessary here. So that's what we'll do. Sometimes you'll even turn it upside down or just dip it in the water. But this needs a lot of water. It's not a thirsty paper, but just to get an even wash, you really need that kind of a thing. And once we're done with the first wash, I'll look at some of the comments and we'll talk, because we'll have some time to let it dry. So let's start slowly adding a bit of color there, okay? And so I'm just starting to add a bit of green. I'm gonna let it all flow down. That's gonna be a part of the beauty. The paper is really wet. And you should be able to see this here. That's how wet it needs to be to actually just dry even. Okay, so let's see what we got here. A bit of sap green and a bit of phthalo blue is what I'm using for the most part here. And I'm just trying to gradually make this darker as we move down. And my leftovers on the palette, of course, which I always get criticized for using. It's good. And take it slow. We used a lot of water. That's why we pre-wet using so much water, so that we have that time right now, okay? Because a lot of people are nervous and they feel like they have to work really fast. That's true for some cases, and I'm adding a bit of red here to mute this. A bit of quinacridone rose. That is the case sometimes, but not always. If you build things up correctly and you get a bit more time to work with the paper, which is what I'm trying to do here. And my entire brush is wet, so I don't get any, lifting on the sides of the brush or anything weird like that. And I'm going to continue doing this until I'm happy, until I feel like I got it to look the way I want. I'm going to leave the paper at an angle. That's really important to help the paint move down. And I'm going to spray a bit of water here. Now what I'm going to do first, I'm going to inject some more green there. Right up here. And then I'm going to spray to help it all move. Okay? That's going to move the whole thing down. And then I'll balance it out a bit. Let it move a bit more. Let's absorb some of the excess moisture that we have here. And you'll see because the paper buckles, so it's going to be this kind of a pattern right down the middle. So we can play around with that and make sure that it's not too significant, like everything flows through here. So tilting it sideways is a great way to avoid that kind of thing. Okay? Otherwise you'll get a big like kind of white thing going down the middle. And I'm going to absorb a bit. If you want to push your luck, you could tilt it the other way. I'm not going to do that for now. And I also could use this little piece of paper to lift if I want to, but I don't see any reason. I think I like it. Let's push our luck and tilt it the other way around, see what happens. But you see how wet it has to be to really allow for somewhat of an even wash. That's what I find with this paper. It's just very, and I think Arch hot press is kind of the same. Something to be aware of. Now we may do another wash over almost everything or not, to be decided. But for now this is going to do. And I will pick up a bit of the excess moist here and there. It's okay if it makes a bit of a white spot, that's actually fine. You could use this as an opportunity to lift a bit if you want. So for example, this is fairly light, so you could just kind of do this. This is what's good with hot press paper. It is quite, everything stays on top, so you can do a bit of lifting action. But we don't have too much to lift here because we don't have any real highlights down in the water, so we're actually good. But I just find that you need to be a little more attentive to what's going on paper. Okay, now I have a bit of sunlight here. I'm going to put it to dry as I answer your questions. Okay, we may end up with a bit of a pool down the middle. Again, this paper buckling, you'd wet both sides to prevent it a bit, but I just wanted to tape it to my board, so we didn't manage. But in any case, I have direct sunlight there. We'll give it a few seconds. In the meantime, let me see who's here, because it's going to take some time to dry. It's very wet paper. So Marina, hey Henny, hey Electric, and Jackie Foxy, hello from Prague. I catch it on. Yep. And have a nice day. Thank you so much. You too. Hey Linz. Hey Zara. Laura Merrifield. How are you, Patricia? Good morning. Lollipop Strawberry. Megan Kelly. What is the size of paper? Let me measure it. Where is my ruler? I never know where it is. Where it's at. Okay, I'll use the other one. It's really small. 22. 40, it's like 22 centimeters on 14, so that's going to be about 8 by 6, I believe that's that, something like that. Small, very small. I'm thinking how I can show you the sunlight. Let's see if I can do this without messing things up. See that nice direct sunlight? So I'm just kind of putting it to dry there. And once it dries, we'll continue. And with these kinds of paintings and this kind of paper and all of that, you really have to give it some time and work in thin layers. Thin, very wet, multiple glazes. That's just the reality with this paper. If you want it to dry evenly. If you don't care as much, that's fine. Hey Mark, how are you? Well, it's like midnight. Yeah, here it's 4 p.m. So it's also not a morning really. Electric hand, would Oxgal increase your working? Probably yes. But the thing is, you know, I need to test it out. I'm not sure. Could be. Could be for wet on dry. Could be. Not sure. Can't say for 100%. But if anyone wants to test it out and let me know, I'd be happy to. JAC, Jack. Hi there, greetings from Argentina. Thank you for being here. Hey, Vale. From Naples, cool. I've been to Naples. Have I been to Naples? I think yes. I think we drove through it. Lollipop Strawberry, can you use a blow dry to... Yes, I'm just kind of letting it be in the sun because I don't want the noise and I want to go over your comments. Hey, Alessandro, happy you're here. Hey, the South Gypsies, greetings from Philippines. Drew Williams, hello, Liron. I'm excited. I have some Schminke paints coming in the mail. Oh, awesome, yeah. Let me know how you like them. Pam, morning here in Georgia. Hello, Nancy, morning. Off topic, is that a new ring on your finger? No, it's been here for about 2 months now. So it's not new. Linda Cherry, good morning. Jackie Foxy trying to catch, with the sketch. Oh yeah, catch up to what I'm doing. Hopefully you will be able to. A household fan is good for drawing. Oh, didn't know that. Robin, good morning. Liron from Michigan. Cool. Vel. Naples is Napoli from Italy. Yep, I know. We call it Napoli in Hebrew. What I like about Hebrew is that we do tend to use the same words or similar words to people actually live in the place. Just because there are people here from all over, so they brought the real, like the original word with them. There's tapioca in this, and it stayed overnight, and the chunks are huge. Very hard to absorb them. Okay, so I'm going to use a bit of my hair dryer just to get that final bit dried. We'll be back with you in just 1 second. So the reason I wanted to use the hair dryer was everything was dry, but this bit here, and it was like everything was 99% dry, and this part was 80% dry, and that still can create a lot of background. So I just wanted to make sure we avoid that. I actually really like the way it looks right now. I think I got lucky and plus a good result because of the way the paper kind of bent. There is a feeling of a pattern of waves, and I like that it goes from green to blue. That's kind of nice. And so let's take a look at the reference photo here. On my end, I'm going to try and figure out what my next step is. There's quite a lot going on here, and the more granular you're trying to be, you can notice a lot of different details. What we have right now is a few areas that are kind of to be painted with pale washes, then a few areas that are to be painted with stronger washes. Of course, the ripples in the water. There's a lot going on here. There's this bit of a shadow on the water that goes like this from that pier. That's something I may want to get in. It's going to be interesting because there are ripples within it, and then I wonder if I'll be able to get that nuance on this kind of a very unforgiving paper. You see there's this section. It goes like that, and then around here there's a few ripple effects, and that I won't get in wet on dry. Never ever. I'll have to pre-wet this, which is probably what I'll do. I'm sorry if the talking isn't going to be as interesting this live stream. I'm going to focus on the painting. Thank you, Hadia. You give me confidence. Okay, so let's start with this little strip here. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pre-wet Okay? It's pretty much the only way to go with this paper. In fact, I think it needs a bit more drying, so give me just a few more seconds. Okay, so pre-wetting this entire thing. I'm going to use a smaller brush this time because I'm pre-wetting a smaller area. But you have to be careful, you know, to not scrub it or do anything funny. But just one passing. This time it's different because we're painting over an existing layer of paint. So just one passing. Don't fuss with it. This gets much more important using this hot press paper. You really want to make sure you don't lift anything. So we pre-wet, and now we can kind of play around with what's there. And to me it looks like an awful lot of gray blue. So let's try it out and see. Let's start actually with this section that's closer. You absorb a bit of the excess water here. And you see, because it's wet, you can start, and I don't need that angle, my bad. Because it's that wet, you can start conveying some of those ripples, and it's gonna look okay. And I know right now it doesn't look like much, plus we don't need it to be too dark. So I'm actually quite pleased with how it turned out. We can add a few more ripples manually if we just do this, you know, just lift a bit back. But because we're painting water, the medium kind of does a lot of the work for us. There's a bit of a thing there. So we don't need to do much, right? Just the fact that this is water and there's a pattern of water is going to do some of the work for us. And we'll let it dry. Now again, just to show you how wet this is, it's wet, see? It's really, really wet. And that's going to be the very mild, gentle shadow. Now, a part of the magic here is going to be isolating that beautiful, dark, muted green for all of the shadows that are in the lower section. So that's something we're going to focus on quite a bit. Let's talk a bit about our game plan as this dries for the next stages. So I actually like the idea of continuing with this top of the pier, because this is a relatively light pale wash, right? Of that orange kind of color. And I like the idea of, and I'm thinking, should I have softened some edges here? I think we're good. I think we shouldn't have. I think it's okay. I could still soften some edges. Let me look at the picture in large again. Maybe around here. Let's try cleaning it a bit and just doing a bit of softening with a somewhat drier brush. See, that's again the advantage of using hot press paper, is it's easier to lift, at least, because the paint just doesn't commit to paper as much. So yeah. So here's what I think I'll do. Paint the pier, and we can do that while this still dries. That's good. The good thing about working in sections. And a few of the lighter sections, and we'll figure it out. So I think here I'm going to do for the first time just wet on dry instead of wet in wet. I think we can afford that now. And look at what I'm doing. Everyone's worried, you know, the palette is dirty, it's going to be a disaster. No, it's going to be okay. Don't worry about that. So you look at this section. All I need is a warm. So I'm going to add some warmth to it using my quinacridone rose, using my yellow ochre. A bit of a word about the colors. Yellow ochre by M. Graham. I know you can't see it. There we go. Yellow ochre by M. Graham. Quinacridone rose by Daniel Smith. Phthalo blue by Daniel Smith. Sap green by Daniel Smith. Neutral tint by Daniel Smith. And that's pretty much it. And we're going to bring, and this is a concept I want to talk about in a future video, we're going to borrow from an existing well, because we already have some coolness here. So we can use that to our advantage, to add a bit of coolness to this thing. We can add a bit more blue to it. And now I'm going to have to use some test paper to figure out if this very pale brown, you see I need a bit more yellow to get to this pale of a brown thing. The pier, it looks kind of bright, but it's actually just this kind of a brown, right? There's a bit more warmth to it, I feel. So it was too much blue at the end and not enough yellow. So a bit of both, and we're close. So let me paint this. And I know it looks a little strange because it looks very light, but it's actually darker than the background, so you do want to paint it. I'm going to paint over this ladder here, and I'm going to take this wash all the way down like that. You have to be quick again because hot press paper, Fabriano Artistico, unforgiving, kind of annoying sometimes. I'll be the first to admit, but it will get the job done. And from here we can move down, because there is a bit of it there. There's an undertone. In fact, I'm just going to continue here. I'm just going to continue pulling this down. And this could be, you could treat this as just darkening it a bit, one more notch, right? We're kind of starting the process of darkening these sections, okay? And I'm going to bring in some water. Again, this is kind of a risk with hot press paper, but there's still so much in the abstract details that I should be fine, should be able to get away with it. In fact, this is a good opportunity to establish where the water begins, which is somewhere around here. And we'll do the same on this side. I really am enjoying hot press despite all the challenges, because just you can't replicate the smooth edge. Again, it's very hard to do with cold press paper. And I think we're good. So that's going to be this part of the wash, right? And this is slow. This is nothing too, interesting in this process. That's okay. That's a part of it. In fact, no, I'll stop it here because I want this section to dry a bit. We're coming up on the wash that is the more prominent darks, but we need to build it up, build our way towards that, make our way slowly because of the characteristics of paper, okay? That's the kind of trade-off you're going off of. So let's see, again, a bit more of what you're saying in the chat, and then I'll continue with the process. Yes, it is a hot press indeed, Arisha. Greldon Powell, hi from South Wales. Awesome, thank you for being here. Billy Robertson, good afternoon. Betsani, good morning from Canada. Tank, I want to go opaque. Too much need to do wet and wet more. I want to go opaque. Need to do wet and wet. So you want to go more opaque? I'm not sure I understand how that'll help you. Pam, never have been successful with a hot press yet. You'll make it if you want to. Jai Durga joins everyone in their complaints on hot press. Yep. Hey Chuck, how are you? Thank you for being here. Pam, I need paper that is willing to forgive me. Do you need to stop and let it dry more frequently with hot press? Yeah, that's the end result, because you're painting thinner washes, so less of an alla prima process, Kona, can you do a night scene live painting next? Oh yeah, I actually wanted to do a night scene for a while now. So I can definitely do that live. It will be interesting. So let's let this dry a bit, probably put it in the sun, and I think the next wash I'm going to tackle is actually the reflections, funny enough. I think that'll be a good move from here to down with a clean kind of greenish wash. And I'm gonna show you, it's a bit of a trick I use, okay? I'll show you. I talked about it a bit in the boat painting, but let me dry this and then I'll explain. So one of the things that are hard with watercolor generally, not just with hot press paper, is knowing what to paint and where to paint it. Now, the wetter your paint is, the more time you have to figure things out, right? So what I like doing sometimes, especially with this paper, is do a thin wash. If there's a large area I need to cover and I'm a bit scared I won't be able to figure out where to paint it exactly and all of that, I'll do a wash that is very thin, and the purpose is just to see where I'm gonna paint, okay? Just to see where it's gonna be, and then I can have an easier time layering something above that. So I hope that makes sense. Almost like you would establish things with a pencil sketch. So now this is a fairly muted green, but it's also, yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful green. So I'm gonna keep it light so it doesn't matter if I don't get it perfectly right. In fact, I could use any color I want here, but let's try and stay close to the green realm. And so look at what I'm gonna do here. I'm gonna paint everything that's green here. So that's gonna be quite a lot of things. Let's start left to right. And I have to be careful here. Okay, so I'm gonna probably take a few seconds to get my bearing. Now look at how much paint I'm working with here in the puddle, because I'm preparing myself, because this is not a small area, it's a big area. Then we have the bird here reflected and down onto the shadow, and same here. Probably missing a bit of blue in that shadow, but that's fine. Again, this is such a thin wash that we're just gonna establish the shapes. So even if we get some unevenness in this wash, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. No one will notice because it's gonna be covered with at least another layer, okay? But this does give me more time to work with a more significant bead. See here? Like that. By the way, this is a great opportunity to thank you all for being here. I really, really appreciate it. You know, I really enjoy the kind comments, and everyone's been super nice, and I'm trying to help and provide value, but at the end of the day, you enable me to do that. So thank you so much for being here, for participating, for commenting, all of that. That I really appreciate it, for liking the videos, anyone who joined the courses. It's really big for me, and I cannot thank you enough for all of that. And again, not the most fascinating wash, and you kind of have to work at it fast. You see how I'm really, really making sure I'm finishing this up, you know. So we'll continue, and you see I'm moving gradually with everything. And think about doing this wash with darker, stronger paint, where you have to work much faster, because otherwise you're going to get tons of backgrounds, and even though it's small areas, the backgrounds will still be visible. It's tough, you know. So I'd much rather, especially here, splitting it into multiple layers that are much more manageable. Okay, there we go. And so I kind of painted over an area I shouldn't have, but that's fine because there's going to be another darker layer afterwards. And we're going to connect this down here, all the way down there, and wrap up the big part of the puddle, right? And with that, we actually did a significant part of the job here, because now we know where we'll paint, right? So now we basically just have to go over this a few more times. Maybe once, maybe more. You know, it's not that dark, but it's also not light, so kind of have to figure it out. But now at least we know what we're gonna paint, right? Let's see what you're seeing on your end. Yeah, that makes sense. That looks good. And then we'll do the same thing for these bluer metal parts. So the ladder, this pole here, and we'll just build it up. Next is going to be another shadow and another detail, and I think we can wrap this one up in almost an hour. This painting. By the way, if you're wondering, this is matcha. The taste, the flavor. Arisha, I love the luminosity of hot press though. Yep, indeed. David Edwards, interesting and wonderful composition in its simplicity. Yeah, I was shocked to find this photo. It was just like that online. It was really surprised me positively. I think the key in this one will be to get the right color and value. with a somewhat green reflection. Yep, I agree. Those are major to this paint. There's a richness and depth to them. And there's a tendency to go dark. I tend to go way too dark, so this is going to be an interesting one for me. Tattoo tank, I use gouache. Too much. Need to. Oh, okay. So you end up using gouache too much. Nah, there's no such thing as too much, as long as you enjoy it. Unless you're going to participate in a competition where you can't use gouache, who cares? Don't be limited by your process. White Reza, hello Liron in chat. Hope you're doing well. Glad to be able to join today, even though I can't paint along with you. Well, next time. How are you doing? Hope everything is well. Arisha, do you lose the green because it goes over a blue wash? Oh no, not at all. It's so much darker than the first blue wash, and plus this isn't really blue. It has a bit of green in it. I know it looks quite blue, but it actually has a lot of green in it. So no, not at all. You could get a very strong green over a blue. You know, it's funny. There we go. We have this here. So I can show you. It's not even that light of a blue. It's quite strong. But if I really want to, you can use these greens here and get a very rich blue, green. You see? That blue underneath is not going to be an issue. And I can add a bit of red to counter it, make it a little more rich, a little more interesting, neutral. That blue underneath is not going to be visible one bit. This is much more green. It's a bit hard to see, but I'm going to try and catch the light for you. See, the wash that comes later is much more important. And this is why I allowed myself to do a thin wash over everything. Because I knew it's going to be thin and light enough so that I don't hurt my chances of getting the right color in the following layers. Okay? So now, look at what I have here. I have a bit of warmth. I'm going to add a bit of neutral tint. And I'm going to add a bit of my phthalo blue, because we need a cool color. And I'm going to use a smaller brush this time. So let me see what the color is. It's a very gray, very muted blue. Very dark too, but remember, we're going to start with a relatively thin wash here, just so that we have a bit of an easier time. So I'm going to cover everything, including the side that's in the light. It's still darker than the background. That's something that's important to remember, because sometimes we have a tendency to see, for example, the left side of this thing as a highlight when it is not. It actually has some value to it. Now, I'm going to be a little careful here. I just really dislike painting very slow like a coloring book, but I have to have some of that here, and I even kind of messed up that shape, but that's fine. Just a bit of a version of that here, and be a little more careful. All the way down to here. There we go. And because I made it wider up top, I'll have to make it wider down below. No choice. And if you want to be creative, over the lower section you can borrow a bit of warmth here with whatever colors you have, and just add a bit of warmth to the bottom while it's still wet, because it has this little rusty feeling. And don't worry, we're going to add more darker layers and it's going to be fun. Now we're going to do the same thing with that ladder. It's going to be a nightmare. I'm going to switch to a smaller brush. I don't want to do this, but I have to. I'm going to use my Levinson small brown synthetic brush. A lot of people have been reporting back that they're really enjoying the Levinson brushes, so thank you so much for that. And I'm just going to get that ladder. Now, if you're surprised at this line, they're actually not that hard to paint, even vertically, using rigger brushes. So, it's just a skill you have to learn. Because I now realize a lot of people may have trouble with it. But I'm working slowly. I'm working so slowly, it's rare to see me work this slowly, I think. So everyone who's here, you're getting a review, and you know what, there's no reason to struggle. Let me rotate it sideways. It's going to be a little easier. All the way down. Now again, imagine putting these shapes in with a dark wash where everything is drying on you. It's gonna be really difficult, so you gotta start somewhere. And some of these paintings do require a lot of careful work. You know, a lot of the paintings you see that are highly realistic, they require a bit more being careful, not going as crazy as I usually go. It's just these processes are never as interesting or photogenic, that's a word, you know. Not as good looking for the camera. But in any case, there we go, we're starting to develop it. So now we have a skeleton upon which we can base the darker washes, right? And I find that to be essential when doing these kind of more gentle works, gentle paper, gentle everything. I'm gonna make the air condition stronger, otherwise I'll pass out. So let me see what you're saying in the chat, and in the meantime, I'm gonna let this dry in the sunlight. The best way to dry paint. We don't want to watch paint dry, so let's see. Let me switch over to my face for a bit. There I am. Not too much I see in the chat, good. Pam says, gosh, I can see the bottom of your palette. Are you well? Yo. John Haywood says, sorry I'm so late. Yeah, no worries. I appreciate you being here. Feel free to ask any questions. We have a few moments until this dries. I actually printed the photo, but our printer has been so low on ink for a while that look at how bad this looks. This, funny enough, could be painted as a completely different scene. Because I did think, oh, maybe I'll match the colors from what I printed. But I mean, look at that. White Rose, yes, this is hot press paper. Yep. If you missed it, it's hot press. Bit of a strange feel to this paper if you're not used to it, you know. But it's gonna work. It's gonna work out. Again, take it slow, layer by layer. You'll see this is gonna connect beautifully. Okay. Don't worry if your painting process takes some time, you know. Some people are built for slower, more deliberate processes, and that's perfectly fine. I'm not one of them, but I match myself with the necessary process. This is starting to look like a very nice, rich, dark green. Over a blue. Doesn't matter. Let me take out new test paper, and I'm starting to run low here. This is hot press, so that's fun. And yeah, look what happens if you work, you know what we talked about, if you work too strong, not enough water on hot press, you'll end up getting all of these annoying streaks, right? Now that's part of it, but as soon as you think to yourself, oh, I'm gonna add a bit of water, then I'm gonna do this, this is gonna have ramifications. All of these things you're doing right now are gonna have ramifications on cauliflowers and stuff. It's just less forgiving, so you have to go fast. And I went fast enough here, but very easily, you see, you already, without me adding anything, you see the cauliflowers, you see the result of me going like this. Very fast. Very fast will it create those cauliflowers, which aren't the devil. It's okay, you can use them for stuff too. You can create beautiful effects with them, but this is not a forgiving paper. Okay, so be prepared, have enough paint in your brush, use wet washes, multiple wetter washes, and just let it go. Let it dry this way, and you should be good. Now I wasted all of my extra test paper, so let me get some more. This is gonna dry smooth, you see? This is gonna dry okay. That's just how it is with this paper. See, this is gonna be really smooth and fine. But if I now do something with it, it's gone. That's how it is. So let's see here. I think we're good, we're dry. There we go. Now, we have a decision to make. Do we start going dark now, or do we build it up in multiple layers? You know, my senses really want me to just get to it and go darker. But let's try something before we do that. So I'm gonna work a small section. I'm gonna work on this section here. Let's see what we get. So first I'm gonna mix the color we need, which is just a neutral dark blue We need to go a bit stronger now. Add a bit of red, a bit of yellow, just to really neutralize this deeply. And see, that's close to what we need. So let's give it a shot. So here's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna do the whole pre-wet, even though it's a small space. I'm gonna pre-wet it. It's gonna be hard to see because it's such a small shape, but there we go. We need more water. It's not enough. Now it's pre-wet, this area. And I don't know how well you can see this, but I honestly don't have much time to show you, but here it is, hopefully reflected. And now we can start establishing, and this is similar to how I worked on the gas cans painting. Now we can start adding in that shadow, you see? Now again, this is a work process. Not everyone's gonna like and enjoy it. It can be a little slow, and a little clumsy even. But that's how you do it. If you really want to get that accuracy there. That's one way of getting it, right? And this isn't even close to dark enough, so let's get some more, just the neutral tint over our entire brush. I really dipped the entire brush in it, and see, we'll get this nice little effect. And that's how you want to work on the entire pipe, in theory, right? You get it to look round and nice. So we can do that for the lower section too. And again, this process, you know, some people may really dislike it. If that's you, just avoid using hot press paper or this brand in particular. I find that it's not really the end of the world. For me too, you know, I like faster processes, more direct, but that's still fun. Hopefully that makes sense. There we go. And I know my pipe looks a little off just because I got the shape not as accurately, but that's fine. We're gonna let it dry. Now let me look at what you see in the camera and show you the sheen, hopefully successful. There we go. You see it's still wet. So I'm gonna have to wait for a few more seconds before I put in the darkest darks. Put them in and make it look a little round. And then once we put this shadow, it's gonna solve some of the continuity problem. I don't know how to call it exactly, but it's gonna feel more like a part of the same painting and all that. So things happen fast with this paper too. So the time has come to put in a very thick, I'm using the paint like almost out of the tube, almost, you know, it's of course dry on my palette. But we got that pipe in. See? Now the ladder is actually going to be a little easier because we're dealing with a hard edge. So let me show you how I would do it. I'm charging up my brush with strong paint, and we're going to do this pretty much the same way. Now my fear is I don't want to lean it like that so that the paint won't flow. I'm going to keep it like this so that shadow is going to move down here. And then I'm going to put in the shadowy side. So let's give it a shot. Do I want to first put the background? You know what? I'm not sure. Let's try it out. We'll see what happens. So that's shadow 1. That's shadow 2. And you see it? We'll start to gain some volume. Feel three-dimensional. Let's continue with that and see. Let's see how far we can push it with just this tiny brush. Okay. So we have this beautiful diagonal shadow coming from the side. Now, because this is such a small, thin wash, people aren't going to notice if we, you know, if there is some patchiness to it or some areas are uneven drying. All of that is going to be less visible, so that actually plays in our favor. And we're going to need some stronger paint. And then in just a few moments I'm going to see what you're writing. There's no way I can do that while painting this kind of a thing. There we go. Probably need to darken this a bit more. Same for this side. And stronger and stronger. And then these two lines should be darker as well. Now notice something interesting. I'm going quite strong, but I'm not going fully pitch black, because that will have no color in it, and we do want a bit of that bluish coolness. It's not just a gray, and I like to keep the colors interesting if I can. It's funny, this is a very kind of technical process in a way, you know. But there we go, we got the letter. Now don't worry, this letter is gonna look much better once we put the dark background, you'll see. But for now, let's get the bird in, fewer brush marks, don't need much here. Connect it, drop the leg, do this, and we're good. As soon as I'm gonna put the shadow here, this part of the ladder is gonna jump at us, okay? It's funny, it's such a technical process, you know, I wasn't really expecting it to be this technical. But fun, nevertheless. Hopefully you enjoy it too. Let me just straighten this line out a bit. Felt a bit detached, now it's better. Let me see what you're saying. I think this starts to take shape now. Richard, welcome aboard. Marina, yes, I traced it. Yeah. And you know, I like drawing these scenes, but I just honestly was in a bit of a hurry. Blue Frankie, what flavor of boba shakes are you drinking? This is matcha with a bit of cream, like I don't know, whipping cream, something like that. It has something else in it, I'm not sure. And this is tapioca, so it's not the, you know, the fruit boba that pop, which I actually sometimes prefer over tapioca, but it's really good. The kind of matcha green tea combination. I think it has, you know, not rose water, but something like that, similar. White Reza, yeah, it's weird to see you start with low values and careful marks instead of a bold, dark, filling a huge area. Yep, that's what you have to do sometimes. Posy Flower, oh no, I'm late. What did I miss? Not a lot. This is getting fun. You've come in the right part, because now we're going to add some serious shadows. Watching and will paint later slowly, because I do everything slowly. Yeah, no worries. I'm working slowly on this one too, Debbie. Sorry, not Debbie, Patricia. Debbie, I love that boat painting in the background. Is that yours? Yeah, I actually printed it on canvas. I can show it to you if you want. You can bring it over. Let me know if you want to. Jackie Foxy, so round paper makes you work different way. Is it better to stick to one type then? Do you test different papers to sharpen your skill? No to the latter, not really. I just use whatever I need to get the result I want. I should do more of that actually. But I will say, if you're trying to get a different result, you kind of have to use different paper. So there is no real way around it, I would say. So you just have to get used to the paper that will get you the result you're after. Deb Smith, will you be able to paint even more water? What do you mean by even more? Like after this scene, another one? I don't think so. It's going to be just this one this time, but I can do another video on water too, definitely. Let me know if you meant something else. Quite a challenging scene. Yeah, Posey, a bit. I went too small with this example. Yeah, you need to, sometimes if you blow it up larger, it's going to be easier to paint. Sebastian Retail, working in hot weather and now with the air conditioning, 2 enemies of watercolor and accelerate how the, yeah, that's true. That's rough. Luis, I have to leave for now as I lead a seniors fitness class in a few minutes. This will be very helpful to a current project of mine. Oh, awesome. I'll be back to watch the replay. And I'll add timestamps so it's easier to navigate the replay. Thank you so much. Posey, I'd love to see the boat. Yeah, let's get it, and then we'll continue with the painting. So let me do this thing. There it is. So I printed it on canvas. So it's actually canvas. It's okay, like you won't see the nuances, but this is a bit too big. If you remember, the original painting is tiny. It's like this size, something like that. So the photo wasn't good enough quality for this size. It should be a little smaller, like the max size. But still, it looks really good from afar, I have to say. And if shipping wasn't a nightmare, I'd probably sell these. Maybe smaller sizes is a good product to sell. Let me know if you want, like, maybe, I don't know, half the size. Maybe like selling canvas prints of the paintings. It's going to be obviously a lot cheaper than the original. So let me know if you're interested in that. But if you look really close, you will see some of the patchiness because of the print quality. You can see some of the edges there. It's very subtle, but it is visible. But overall, yeah, it looks really good. You know, when I first got it, I was like, quality not good enough. But then after I put it up on the wall and it kind of warmed up to me, and I warmed up to it, it just looks so much better now. So yeah, really enjoy having it here. It was an experiment, but one that I'm quite happy with. And it's really nice to see this as I work. So yeah, happy you like it. Hey Rumiana, how are you? Patricia, I don't have any hot press paper here today, so I'm going to give it a try on a cold press. Any technique I should change? Just go for it. Yeah, I think do the same. You could go darker right out the gate, but that takes experience regardless, so whatever you feel comfortable with. It's majestic. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, Posey. You're so talented using simple shapes to deliver complex emotions. Thank you. Thank you, Patricia. Do you have a Redbubble shop? No, you know what? I should probably do that. They'll take care of everything, right? I have a Redbubble shop, but it doesn't have my art prints in it. That's actually a good idea. Would you buy? Like, would anyone buy from there? Let me know. Print on demand works. So yeah. Hey Jill, how are you? Some paintings are meant to be seen from a distance. Yeah, that's true. Okay, so let's continue. Let's pick up the pace here. I'm gonna start putting in some more of the significant parts that will make this work. This painting does take a lot of focus. So we're gonna work on the shadow here, on the pier. Now let me look at a reference photo. So this shadow is very neutral, it's very dark, but do I sense a bit of warmth in it? Probably just a bit. There's a bit of warmth where it's wooden and then the metal is a little cooler. So I'm not sure how that's gonna translate. I think I'll put in the dark and then do some wet and wet for the warmth. I think that's what we'll do. So a bit of neutral tint here. And let's put a bit more phthalo blue, just a bit, you know, it's a very strong paint. And I'm gonna work all the way to this point, to the left side of the ladder. So let's see how that goes. And again, I need to be quite careful with this area. There we go. And then we'll add a bit of warmth just to the top here and see if we can get away with it. And see if it's even noticeable. Just a bit of warmth like that. Yeah, that works. And then we'll continue. We can start with the warmth here because this is a small area. And then continue with the bit of cooler section. And if we get some patchiness, that's fine. You could split this into two washes if you feel uncomfortable painting it in one go. But I think it's gonna work out. It's gonna be the smoothest of washes. That's fine. Often when I just paint for myself, I'll really stick my head close to the paper. Which is something that's a little harder to do when filming, you know. The awkward light is coming towards us from the left. We're gonna have to pick up the pace. Let's see here. So this right here. There are a few highlights. I think if they're too complex, I'll skip them for now. And we'll get them later on, probably. Because we don't, like, this paper is not gonna forgive us, you know. And cut through here. Now this is where it kind of gets a little more a la prima-y. So I'm gonna first off get this all the way down to the bottom. Okay, we're still gonna work in patches, otherwise it's gonna be really hard to get the result we want. So this is shape number 1. We're still not doing this shape here. Now look at what happens. There's this rust. So let me get some of these rusty colors here with a bit of quinacridone. And we'll kind of just put them in here. Do our best. But it has to be darker. So I'm going to add a bit of more neutral tint. Because this is rust, but it's also dark. And I'm trying to do a bit of wet and wet here, but you see that's a little too late now. So do it at your own risk. I'm probably gonna let this dry and then do the rest. And then we can work on this smaller part to the left. So let's see what we can do here. This is gonna be a little trickier, in fact, because we do have a smooth transition. So look at what I'm going to do. I'm going to pre-wet some areas where this transition is smooth. This is a tough one, but we'll do our best. So I'm going to pre-wet like this. And here. And we will hope for the best. So let's see what we can do here. So a bit more of a straightforward way of doing this. And hopefully it won't backfire on us. Because at some point you just have to go for it. You know, and I'm not gonna waste a long time just debating what technique I'm gonna use and how I'm gonna paint this. So we're just gonna go for it for now, and then we'll mix a bit of a darker mix here. Let's do a bit of that, just a bit of wet and wet, and we're gonna give this a few seconds. As it starts to dry and we can do more wet and wet, and you're probably okay, you can still not see that annoying light, so that's fine. I'm gonna drop this all the way down here, and then I'm gonna drop this all the way here, like so. And you see how it starts to look, the structure starts to make a little more sense. Now we have to go a little darker on the right side. We have to do this fast, so let's see if there's still some water here, just a bit, so we can play off of that. Not a lot though. Here around the bottom there still was a bit of water. You can just spray a bit and hope it will work. From afar, kind of help the paint move left and add those cast shadows a bit. And hopefully it will make sense in the overall impression. Down at the bottom, let's add more of that rusty color. Here. And funny enough, this turned out better than this side, I think. Good. So we'll give it a few seconds. I need to regroup here, but this is good. Let's straighten out this side here. Let's get a bit of a darker. Straighten this out. This should definitely be darker here. No gap. Yeah. So let me see what I can do about the light here, as always, and we'll continue. Yeah, I think that will work. Now look at how darkening the top section really makes it a necessity to start darkening the lower section. Now I still don't know what green that is, so let me try and mix that and see if I can get it right, okay? As this dries a bit, I want to make sure I get a similar green. And it's a very specific green. So this is my undersea. I feel like it needs a bit of almost yellow. No. Interesting. No. That's not the right one. Let's try this. Let's start with my phthalo blue and my Yeah, so this is way too blue. So if I add a bit of undersea green, what's gonna happen? Is it gonna make it closer to what I need? No, not really. It's a tough color to mix. Let's see, maybe this, or that's too strong. So a bit of, that's a tough color to mix. It's a very artificial green in a way. And you could just decide to paint it differently, like you don't have to paint it close to what it actually looks like. Let's start again with an actual green, see where it takes us. Yeah, so this is better. So it's like 90% green and a bit of blue, maybe a tiny bit of yellow here. It's such an interesting color. Yeah, okay, I think I'm getting close. And it's muted too, so honestly shouldn't be that tough to mix. So here's what I think I'll do. I think I'll chicken out and do 2 separate washes. One for the lighter green and then one for the darker green. I don't think I have enough courage right now to do it in one go. So let's do that. Okay, let's get this thing here. Good. A lot of the undersea green, a touch of the yellow, a touch of blue, and we'll take it from there. Look at how much test paper I need just to match that darn green. Yeah, that's good. That's actually really, that's probably as close as I got so far. Funny enough. I don't know if it looks close to you, but yeah, it doesn't look close on camera, but it's actually quite close. And we'll get started. So this is the lighter version of green. Splashed a bit of paint, that's fine. No one will notice. Let me start left to right here. And hopefully that'll be dark enough. There are no guarantees. It may end up not being dark enough. Then we'll end up having to do another wash. But you know, that's life. So, yeah, that looks good. That's a good green. Okay, let's get it to here. And then, oops, that's dangerous. Yeah, I'm gonna have to switch. Don't be lazy, switch to a smaller brush. Get this. Get that. You gotta give the paint room to escape, you know. Because right now it puddles. Hopefully that's not gonna be too thick of a line. Good. And we'll do, let's stay with this brush for now. So this starts quite light here. You know what I find funny enough? I still, even though I give this advice so often, I'll still sometimes feel like, oh, I don't know, I'm messing it up, I'm whatever. But I still find it very effective to just trust the process. Because right now I get the feeling, again, there's fears of, am I doing it right? Am I missing something significant? But actually, I think it starts to come together quite nicely, this painting. And to be honest with you, you could probably get away with some wet and wet here to get the darker sections. But let's not do that for now. I mean, if I get brave in a few seconds, I may do that. Now let's connect all of these separate pieces together. And if we're lucky, maybe we'll get to do some wet and wet here, down here in the puddle. If we need to, we don't need it that much. I'm gonna spray some, not a lot of water. And yeah, I think that's a step in the right direction. Now, it's not wet enough, so I have to let it dry. Unfortunately, it wasn't brave enough again. But once it dries, we'll be able to add some of the darker bits. Okay, but hopefully it starts to make sense. And of course, this could be darker. Maybe we'll darken it later on. Or maybe we won't. I'm not sure. This looks so much more green in real life. I hate that the camera makes it so bad looking. This is green. It's not as gray. Don't know why the camera makes it so gray. It's so annoying. Once I scan this, I can show you. But in the meantime, let's see what you're saying. Thank you so much, Konkona. Hey again, Jill. Cool canvas. Thank you. G Ben. Hi from Iceland. Cool. Sorry. Yeah, there we go. I thought that all this time I spoke, the camera was in my face, but luckily it wasn't. That would have been terrible. Yeah, lots of paint on my arm. Let's move this aside. Blue Frankie, I struggle with keeping my washes flowing and end up with many hard edges. Is my paper choice a factor here? I'm mostly using student grade papers. What can I do to increase flow? Yeah, sometimes that's that. We just made the air conditioning stronger and it stopped working. Sometimes it's that, but sometimes it could actually be your technique. It could be both your technique and your paper. I wonder what exact paper you're using. Let me know. And yeah, just more water. That's the solution for cheaper, simpler papers. Got it, Debbie. Oban's paintbrushes. I admire how you control the water. Thank you. Patricia, already looking amazing. Thank you. Mickey, hello. This is looking great. Thank you so much. Hey, Charnel, how are you doing? Good morning. Konstantinos says this looks like a green earth color. Yeah, but it's a warm green, but desaturated, it seems. Yeah, it's a very weird color. Posy Flower, need to go pick up the munchkins from summer camp. I'll definitely catch the upload later. The value work is amazing. Oh, thank you. I wouldn't worry too much. Bye, everyone. Thank you, thank you. And hey again, Mickey. I don't have the phthalo blue. What can be substituted? Yeah, a lot of blues. Anywhere, anything you have. Just use a yellow with it to make it green. So you could use the ultramarine blue. You could use Prussian blue. You can use anything you want. Have a variety of yellows to try, preferably. Have like a warm and a cool yellow. Like a New Gamboge for a warm, and then for a cool, or like a medium, I don't know, and lemon yellow for a very lemony yellow. But don't be too caught up on the specific colors. I could paint this with any color. David, I like the light reflection. Almost doesn't need to be darkened. The overlapping layers work amazingly. Thank you. Nancy G, I think your subtle temperature changes are of great interest. I also really like this painting. Another great live stream. Thank you. Tracy, hi from Western Australia. Hello. Thank you for being here. I can paint anything. That's true. Hi from India. Thank you for being here. So yeah. So let's see what else we can do. We're gonna wrap this up as a painting soon. I think I'll do. I'm tempted to do another glaze with pure green just to bring out more green in it, and I think that's what we'll do, actually. I'm considering which one I'm going to use, and I'm going to let it dry for a few more moments before I do that. I think the sap green would work okay here. So I'm just going to do another glaze. I find that sometimes increases the saturation. Let me dry it for a few seconds with a hairdryer, and then we'll do that. And then we'll add the darker shadows. Okay, I think it's dry enough. Let's do that. And I've been thinking maybe we'll combine that with the darker wash. I feel like just doing it directly. alla prima. I get a feeling that I want to do that. So let's get started here and we'll see how it goes. Sometimes I just feel like, you know, going direct and whatever happens, happens. You know what? Maybe we'll pre-wet everything. Change of plans. Let's pre-wet the whole thing, because I have an interesting idea. Or not even the whole thing, but like areas leading to the bottom. So I'm gonna pre-wet these areas. Trying to be a little careful here. So sometimes you have to change your plans to get the result you want, and this is one of these instances. So let me pour in here some relatively pure green. Let's kind of move down. It can be darker on this side. And as we get to this area, I'm going to start bringing in some red to neutralize and darken. Now let's see what we're left with here. Because this entire thing can be a little darker. Where this shadow is. Same for these little details. Yeah, I'm happy I changed my approach on the fly. I think it's better this way. And then we can get some looser edges. And we can take care of these areas in just a moment. So let's continue to wash down here. And let's open it up with some cleaner greens, even with a bit of blue. A bit of yellow too. You know what, let me do this more yellow. Even keep it a little lighter, like that. And hopefully that will work, because this doesn't need to be much darker, so this wash flows pretty well. But I will do some wet and wet as it dries. This really looks good. Like, I'm looking at it, looks really, really good. Very happy with it. It's a bit hard to see all the nuances on camera, but hopefully it looks good on camera too. And then here you see there's a bit of details on the bottom of the water, something like that, with a few darks within them. So that's something I'm trying to establish. And we'll let this kind of rest for a while. We're almost done. This I like. I don't know if I'll add more to it. We'll do the same here though. So let me switch between my small brush. It's gonna get the lighter value. And then I'm gonna use the big brush to get some of the darker reflections and whatnot. Something like that. And we'll continue that thin wash down into this area where we will reintroduce some of the darks. All the way down to the bottom actually. And you could probably kind of connect it to the bottom puddle. For this, we're going to do a very similar thing. That, just a glaze. And switching to dark. Hopefully it will make sense once it's all said and done. Then I'll answer some questions. And going back to light. And I can even scan this and kind of show you what the result looks like more cleanly on my end, and then we can decide together if we want to add some more to it. But one thing I will add for sure is this. I did say I won't, but I probably will. just a bit of strength here. And almost like a dry brush technique. I want to add a bit of that shadow there. Rusty, so a bit more red. Something like this. Yeah, that's good. And probably here too. Let me add a bit of yellow there. It's a nuance, but there is a bit of a darker layer there. And I kind of think we're done here. Let me see what you're saying, and then we'll maybe do a scan and see. Air conditions dead. Will you work for me, please? Yeah, I don't know why it was on fan mode. What am I gonna do with the fan? It's so hot. Okay. Arpad, Demeter, could I ask why did you paint the shadows on the water in 2 takes? Yeah, I wanted to split it into multiple layers because it's very hard to control on hot press paper for me. So I wanted to split my efforts essentially. I think that's what you refer to, right? Eliza, hey, thank you for being here. Thank you, Jackie. Claire, could you have painted it dark to begin with? One wash and yeah, I could. If I was good enough and I'd work fast enough. It's just not easy. And it's pretty small. Maybe if it was larger, I'd have a bit of an easier time. Koske. Painting water is always like a magic trick to me. Even when I do, I impress myself like I just did a magic trick. Yeah, that's what it feels like. Libre non libre. No matter how hard I try, I follow directions on timing. I can't seem to not get blooms, cauliflowers when going in with the second wash, even when bone dry. Any hints? So wait, if the first wash is bone dry, it shouldn't do that. So I would guess you're using very bad paper. But let's say you switch or you use good paper. A big part is a lot of people think they go strong enough, but they don't. So you go marginally darker, but you end up going, let me show you. So let's say this is my first wash. And now it's time to do wet and wet, right? So let me get a bit of a darker paint. And people end up thinking they go darker, but what they end up doing is being very scared to do that. And what I did here, it's gonna create a cauliflower right here. What you should do instead is actually go darker. You need to see the difference here on the palette, see? So one fix you could try and do is go the extreme and really use thick paint more than you feel courageous enough to try. That's usually the cause for this. By the time people mix and take their time and add very gently just a touch of darker paint, it ends up being wetter than what's on paper because what's on paper has been drying this whole time. That's my guess. I can't know for sure without seeing your work, but that's what I see all the time. Are you using 100% cotton paper? Yes, I do. I am using it. I'm using 100%. John, fabulous work and result on hot press paper. Thank you for another awesome live stream. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it, John. Also, you don't normally want to wait till done dry unless you want a hard line. Separating colors, you want a damp. Yeah, if you can, but sometimes there's no choice and you have to break the wash. That's what I had to do here. The dark edges add depth, indeed. Yes, always best paper, Arch 140. I like Saunders water for the best. So this, with time, became a little lighter, the dark sections, and I think I can probably get away with putting them wet on dry. So let me maybe try doing another passing just for the darks. You know what, I don't want to, I think it'll be too dark. Maybe it's just the edge that bothers me. I'm not sure, honestly. One thing that is missing here is the depth in the water. So I'm gonna let this dry and then I'm gonna put another, I'm gonna try something weird and we'll see if it works. I'm gonna work wet on dry here on this. Let me dry this for a second, I'll show you. I'll just go for it and we'll hope for the best. So here's the thing. One thing that is really important, if you take a few steps back, you'll notice is this gets gradually darker, a little more than I conveyed here. And that's actually really important because that's what creates the depth in the water. Right now the water is a little detached. So what I think I'll do is rotate this way and just go for it. And try to go dark and lighten it up the further down I move. And I'm going to rotate my reference photo as well while I do this. Otherwise, I'm going to really lose my orientation. So let's see. It's a bit of a risk, but I think it's worth it. I may ruin the whole thing now, by the way, just letting you know. Yeah, it's much more of a blue. Interestingly enough, it feels a little purpley even. More blue and a bit more red. Yeah, that's closer. So, just gonna get started. Be brave, and let's see if we can get this to work. I'm not pre-wetting. I'm kind of tired of pre-wetting all the time. And I'm going to add water to the mix to make it a little lighter as it moves back. And I'm trying not to lift what's underneath. That's another kind of major risk, right? And I am trying to lift some ripples out here. So let's see if I can do that successfully. And then we'll get some more water to help this keep moving into the distance, all the way till it's just pure water. Yeah, and then let's add a bit of blue because I feel like I kind of need to darken the water underneath that reflection, all of these reflections, so something like this. Just to make it feel more attached to the painting. Same here. Sometimes you just gotta go for it, and this is what I'm gonna do now. And hopefully that improved the sense of depth just by a little bit. Okay? I think it did. Yeah. Let's put it like that. Let it dry for a while, and I think we're done. I think I'll scan it for you, and we'll see. We'll see how it compares. And how off my colors are. They're actually much more colorful. It just doesn't show in the camera. So yeah. Let's see what you're saying. From my view on the computer screen, your painting looks more like a monochromatic value study. I don't really see the greens in the water. Yeah, it's just the camera. I hate it. Oh, the picture is blocking. Sorry about that. Sorry. Libra, thank you. I do go timidly with the second wash. I'll try the second method you mentioned. Have you tried Stonehenge and fluid papers? Yeah, they're good actually. Okay, so I'm gonna dry and scan it for you. And if we have any corrections, I'm gonna just make them on the fly after I remove the tape. So give me a second. Good. So we'll do a tape removal because we need to just for the scanning part. But this is not necessarily the end yet. Okay. Look, if you compare it to the printed reference photo, I think my colors are much more green compared. No, I'm kidding. So let's see. And I knew this painting is going to be a bit challenging. had a few leaks from the tape. But it's funny to see how this isn't white. You can see it here, right? It has a bit of color because we did paint that layer. So let me put it in the scanner. Give me 1 second. And we'll scan. And I'll see. In the meantime, let me know how you're doing and if you're able to find time to create properly. I'm curious. Because a lot of people told me that they're having a hard time just making time to paint. Okay, so I'm starting to scan. My scanner really dislikes blue colors, but hopefully it will still look blue. I bet when I put it side by side with this one, it's gonna look completely different. That tends to happen. Eliza says Birdie needs a head and a beak. White barnacles. Yeah, so I'll probably add a few of these details later on. I can see the green in your palette though, yep. I don't know why it's something with this camera. Do you have a list of paints in your palette I can look at? I should have one somewhere, but the colors I'm using are usually very basic. You know, that's a good idea. I'll just create one. I'll upload a photo of this palette with all the colors in it, annotated. Something I still haven't done for some reason. Okay. So, it looks much better. It looks much better scanned. You can actually see the green. Probably, I don't know if it's probably not as vibrant as the original, but still like significantly more than what you're seeing on screen right now, which is disappointing always. So let me just 1 second. I'm gonna crop the photo, organize it. Sorry for the dead air. Let's see if there are any questions I can answer in the meantime. And thank you, Patricia. My pleasure. Chris just got here for the end. I'll watch again when you're done. Yep. Where does everyone share their work? I would love to see all the different versions. Yeah. If you have an Instagram or something, feel free to drop your username. I think it's always interesting to see. Photoshop takes ages to turn on. Yeah, I updated my Mac, everything went south. But if you'll give me a second, you will see it. Now this scanner is notoriously bad with blues, but I think it's gonna still be visible. Really working my computer to the bone. And I think I can do another darker wash. Probably do it off camera, but I could. It's not moving. Maybe I'll restart Photoshop. Oh, there we go. Thank you so much. Okay. Crop the bottom. Crop the left side, the top side. And feel free again to drop some of your social media usernames if anyone wants to follow you and see your art. Let's see inside. Let me make this smaller so that it's not that heavy of a file. Hopefully the green is going to be visible. Huh. Can I paint one of your paintings and show you the result? And if, please tell me where to share. Yeah, you can find my email address in the channel. That'll be the easiest. It's liron@lironyan.com. And feel free to share, to paint it and send it over. I'll be happy to take a look. Sometimes it can take me a while, but I'll do my best. I'll do my best to get back to you. Okay. So I'll just add the picture to the screen. One second. Plus image. Okay. Browse. I'm gonna put it side by side. I don't know if the colors are as accurate as I wish them to be, but there we go. So at least it's green, right? And you see I can add some more darks for sure to the under the bridge. So that's like not failing, that's literally I have more work to do. But if you look at it small, it's actually quite similar, I think. Yeah, it just needs that darker layer, a bit of it more. Of course, the background is a very different temperature. It's much warmer in the original, and it's lighter in my example, but that's fine. That I actually like. But yeah, a lot of things to fix, as always. But my color matching is actually has really improved over the past couple of months. So that's actually something I'm happy with. It's just some of the subtleties that are very easy for me to miss sometimes. But yeah, it's green all right. And then once I'll add some highlights, it'll probably fit more in place. Patricia, it would be great to have a Facebook community page where we can share our work. Yeah, that's coming, I think. So I'm not gonna overthink these white details. I think I can pretty much just add them, even using my white gel pen, you know. Let's try it out and see if it's gonna look good. And I'm probably blocking it with the let me move these to a side, and you see how different it looks? Like, compare this to the scan. All the colors just get completely lost, you know. But if I were to put a few in, I kind of want to do another version of this off camera. We'll give it probably just a bit of character. And there. Yeah. And of course you can add some more darks, you can do a whole bunch of things with it. But just look, it's so crazy the difference between the two. Let me just place them all together for you to see. And then we'll do some comments and stuff and see what you're saying. But that's where we're at. I'll be here. I'll be in the corner. So it's so crazy. The colors are so much more similar here to here than here to here. But yeah, the wonders of scanning. You know what's funny? This camera is even considered decent. It's pretty good, but it's not good for painting. It's good for just faces more, I guess. Let's see what I miss. Tracy JM, thank you so much, Liron. I'm inspired by your paintings. Thank you so much. Eliza, thanks, Liron. Weather in Tel Aviv, hot. Very hot. Patricia, there is a pier near here that is very similar. After trying this painting, I will try to apply the technique. Oh yeah, cool. And it's a very atmospheric view of the scene too, this one. So, you know, find the atmosphere that you see there. Timony, just found your vids in the last few days. I've learned a bunch. I've been teaching watercolor for special needs classes for a while, and I'm still very much learning with them. Yeah, that's part of it, you know. I still learn a lot every day. So yeah, let me know if I can help in any way. I'll be happy to. Good job. You got it. I can paint anything. I might try a light spatter of gouache. Yeah, and I actually have some white gouache here that I could use, but a spatter could work well. Yeah, you know, this camera really, let me show you. It really warps. It does post editing to my photos. The splatter actually looks normal when I look at it, but through the photo, it's almost like it passes it through a weird filter. You know, it's a bit hard to explain. But yeah, I think we're good. Let me know if you have kind of questions as to wrap it up. But yeah, a bit of a challenging process. My favorite part here is probably these sharp little highlights. That looks really good. You can see here, obviously, in the scanned version. A little more, like, you could be a little more careful, of course, with the details. A little more mindful of the nuances in the shadow, but I actually really like the way it turned out. Let me do this as we kind of wrap it up, and if you have anything, you just write it down and I'll try and answer kind of some final questions. But just to get a few of these, you know, darker details in here, even like this, you know, even wet on dry, because it's such a later wash and it's quite dark, you know, you can just kind of go for it. These should definitely be thinner. I went too thick on these lines, these ripples. And a bit here as well. That'll get the job done, probably. Just to make a bit of a distinction, have it feel more like it's in the shadow. Of course, that doesn't cure the green, but it does push it to be a little darker. Let's do this. I can just get rid of my face. That's it. Let's make this smaller. I like to show these two together. It's so funny. It's so entertaining. But yeah, this is pretty much it. What brushes are you using? So I used a combination of a Skoda. This one's the Barocco, size 16. This one's a Perla, I believe, size 8. Yeah, size 8. I used this for the first wash. This is the Ultimo. I like it. It's kind of more of a mop with a nice tip. And I used this one, which is a Levinson brush. And I have links to all of these, by the way, in the description box. Basically, it's freewatercolor.com/gear. And you'll see all of my tools. But this in particular is a small brown synthetic brush. I use this one for my for signing the paintings too. That's the one I use for that, and for details and for a lot of different things. It's just a fantastic brush. Now I wonder if I should sign this here. Let's do it here, small. This is a tiny, tiny painting. And yeah, you know, there are so many good brands of art supplies. Honestly, find what you can in good price locally. Don't overthink it. The point at which you want to upgrade is when you actually feel the difference and you want to do something different. You want to feel the better quality, or you know what you strive for. It did make a difference. You know, with Skoda brushes, Levinson brushes, they're better than some of my previously used brands. I like them more than my old Princeton brushes. I like them more than Silver Black Velvet, which were great too. But they were definitely a leap forward in quality. So yeah. Tracy JM. Okay, that's response. Art with friends, awesome. Love the reflections in the water and the birds sitting there. Thank you. Yeah, I like it too. Libra non-Libra, I don't know never how to pronounce it. Thank you again for your help specifically today, but always with regards to your channel, and always watch subscription for me. Thank you so much. Such an excellent artist and teacher and inspiring every time. Thank you. So Dina, hopefully I answered your question too about the brushes. What is the difference between cold press, hot press, and rough paper? So rough paper is going to have a strong texture to it, strong tooth. Hot press is going to be smooth like this paper, and cold press is in the middle. So yeah, the difference is in how they handle, and it varies based on the brand, but generally speaking, with hot press papers, the paint stays on top a little more. For some reason, it's less absorbent in a way. So on the one hand, it's easier to get patchy work, but on the other hand, it's much easier to lift. So there are advantages and disadvantages. With hot press, with cold press, I find I can, and rough, same concept. It's a bit more forgiving for the edge of the wash. So you get a bead and the edge of the wash, and you can take a break and it's okay. It's gonna bead because of the paper's texture. It's very rough, so the paint is just gonna stay there, and then you continue, and you won't get too many cauliflowers. So that's the main difference. Now, again, you work with texture, so that texture can hurt your ability to portray small, accurate details too. So that's a downside for cold press or for rough. First time I painted on rough paper, I used this small watercolor brush pens. I couldn't even get the wash to show because I was combating the, the paper's texture. I couldn't even do it like a shape. It was so hard. It takes some getting used to. As for the brushes, I do see you ask about them. Wait, where did that disappear? Can you explain it? Yeah, about the brushes. So this is the Escoda Barocco. And again, if you go to freewatercolor.com/gear, G-E-A-R, gear, my gear, you'll find this. But this is a size 16 Barocco brush, B-A-R-R-O-C-O. Very good one. Let me see if I can show it to you properly here. If it'll focus. I think I can probably show it to you better like this. So there it is. Barocco. Very good tip, but also has great water capacity and all of that. This is the Perla. These are the brushes that... this was white when I got it. The Perla, P-E-R-L-A brushes are white until you paint them for the second time. Then I have the Escoda Ultimo, better mop for larger areas, but also has some accuracy to it. By the way, these two are from the plein air sets, but you can find the same version, only non-plein air. So same, Escoda Barocco size 16, you can find it in the non-plein air sets. But I think it's a better deal if you buy the plein air sets, which I also will link in that page I told you about. This one is separate. This one I got first. This is the first Escoda brush I got, actually. And then we have Lebenson brushes. The two most common ones I use is the large goat hair, which is this one. And it's great for a variety of uses. And then the other one I like using is the small brown synthetic for tiny details. This is bamboo, all Lebenson brushes by Tracy Lebenson. They're all bamboo. And this is great grip, very ergonomic, very comfortable. It never repeats, so it minimizes to some extent calluses, though I still have them from pencil and pen. Very comfortable to use. Very, very comfortable. And I do have a coupon code, Liron. So I believe if you head over to the link in the same page I told you about, use Liron, you should get anywhere between 20 to 25% discount. Make sure, don't catch me on, don't quote me on this one, because sometimes there's a break in the promotion and then it recontinues. So try it out, see if it gives you that discount. Yeah, this is it. Hey, sorry, I know I can never read your username, but hey again, how are you doing? And Arpad says, thanks for the answer. You got it. So thank you so much. Again, I have you to thank for you allow me to do the things I do, and can't thank you enough, really. I've been working on a lot of things behind the scenes that annoy me, and it's like I'm super grateful to have this place and people who care about what I have to say and what I have to show, and the paintings and everything. So much love to you wherever you are in all the different places. and have a great morning, evening, night, afternoon, noon, whatever time it is over there. And yeah, I'll see you on Saturday's video. I actually will ask for your opinion on something. I'm going to ask for your help. It's going to be a selfish video. But I've just finished editing a really good video today. So good things to look forward to. And yeah, thank you so much. I will see you in another vid real soon. Until then, take care.